Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The What Life. It's been a while since we have done this, and we're diving into a Zwift monthly. This month, it's Flat is Fast. This is week 2. I don't know, did I do one from last week? I've been struggling with the flu since after Christmas, and it kind of manifested into a form of basically bronchitis. I've been coughing quite a lot, and it's been causing me a bit of trouble, but we're kind of getting over it, and I've dived into what is a primetime Monday evening, 6 p.m. UK time, Flat is Fast, Z monthly racing event. And guys, this was a stormer. I will just say that, you know, there are moments when I'll be cycling and I'm just thinking like, oh, I've put in so much work. Like I should be riding a bit harder than this. Like, why am I finding it so hard? And that's what I was definitely thinking during this race. Why am I finding this so hard? Or maybe it's because I've been ill. And then I get to the end of the race and realize that like it was probably one of the fastest races I've ever done. So, you know, guys, be kind to yourself sometimes. And also, where are all these hardcore turbo fast Cat B riders coming from when it comes to these Flat is Fast races? Because damn, like the numbers are just insane. As in people's ride numbers, it's impressive, but they seem to have got faster and just harder, and these like sustained efforts were just like, this was fast. I did a Z monthly, I did last week's one in Tempest Fugitive, held 3.8 watts. I was pretty happy with that, considering that I haven't I'd be happy with it anyway, but not being 100% well. So last week I held 288 watts for the 20k. Again, this route, you know, dead flat, 20k again, 19.5k. So we're doing the same deal, right? Last week I held 288 watts. This week we held 295, and I think that's normalized to just over 300, which is 3.9 watts per kg for me. And I will dive into that in a minute, because some of these stats, like, I find it phenomenally interesting. Like, I'll dive into, you know, the kind of guys that are winning and what weight they are, and the watts per kg that they are holding to win these races. So first up, like I said, fan flats, 3 loops in Richmond, dead flat, as described in this week's monthly races. When Zwift first said it was going to be doing these kind of flat monthly races, I was a bit kind of skeptical, because I was like, well, it's just massive groups. It's these massive bunch sprints at the end, and that's 100% what it is. You know, just we end up with these bunch sprints, which are really hard and not really my forte, especially at the moment. But I have found them a bit more engaging than I thought I would. I still don't like them as much as, you know, something with a little bit more elevation. And I just think that, you know, having 90 people in a bunch sprint at the end of a ride, it's super hard, and it changes the dynamic completely. So people just go super early, and you have to just be a very strong rider from, like, you know, 1.5 k out. It really heats up, and I'll dive into that in a second. But I thought I'd find it less interesting, and I am actually finding it a bit more engaging than I thought I would. But as I said, you know, my average wattage for this is probably the highest I've held for a 20k race, hands down. So well, certainly my kind of real wattage rather than my normalized power. So I am, again, you know, it definitely feels like, I don't know. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy this type of like dead flat mass bunch racing. No one can really get away, and, you know, certainly that's what I've found. These kind of 200 person races on these dead flat courses, it's really hard for selections and breakaways and things like that. So in terms of like the dynamic of a race, it's not massively engaging, but you are just having to work super hard to stay on the group. So I don't know, like, I think maybe it's just an interesting way to, or a kind of way to start the year, which I guess we're kind of thankful for. Anyway, let's dive into some of the stats. And like I said, the thing that I find interesting is like, who the hell is winning these races? Because, you know, if I'm holding 3.9 watts for the 26 minutes I think it took to finish this race, you know, someone must be holding quite a lot more than that, because I finished way down the pack tonight. I'll dive into some of my personal stuff in a sec, you know, things like heart rate and how I'm feeling. But to give you an idea, these are people that I think are quite reasonably notorious amongst the Zwift world. We have Dark Knight coming in and winning this race in 25 minutes 58 seconds. Now he holds 3.8 watts per kg. This guy weighs 68 kg, average heart rate of 162 beats per minute, which I mean, those are really strong stats. I'm presuming is able to sit in the group and then just punch like crazy at the end of a race. But even his, it's a 6.6 watt per kg for his 15 second, which I presume would be, that end kick at the end of the race. But I'll just work down the list for you guys. Like, these are the types of people and the numbers that that people that are winning this race are putting out. So first we have 3.8 watts per kg, second 3.9, third 3.8, fourth 4.1, 3.8, 3.6, 3.9, 4, 3.9. But interestingly, if you go a bit further down the list, that's where we get all the 4.1s, 4.2s. I think there's even like a 4.3 in there somewhere. A lot of people riding at 4 watts per kg and 4.2 watts per kg as you get further down the list, and tons of people riding at 4.1. So it's interesting that the guys that are winning it are the ones that are like really able to understand how to sit in a pack, or maybe they are more capable as a rider, so they are able to like kick and just ride those kicks a little bit easier and just sit in the correct position, or the position where they want to sit in. I think that's like the key thing, because I'm definitely finding that in some races I'm holding reasonably high wattage, certainly for me, and I'm 76 kg, and they're getting beaten by tons of people that hold slightly lower watts per kg who are of the same weight. And that's, I think, the key thing, guys. If you're gonna kind of compare apples to oranges, it doesn't quite work. So people that are the same weight. And to give you an idea of the guys that are winning this in terms of weight, we have first is 68, and then 83, 81, 75, 90, 79. 10 slightly on the bigger side, I'd say, except for Dark Knight, who came in and won it at 68 kg. Some guys in the 80s, 90 kg, but I don't want to. I mean, I say bigger. It's not huge. But they're certainly kind of stronger riders. They're certainly not the mountain goats of the kind of 60, low 70 kgs that you see from some of the mountain guys. But this is the kind of race that appeals to these types of people, or these are the types of guys that are just going to be able to kind of, just perform better. I certainly felt like the thing that I was struggling with from my perspective, coming back into it, I tried to kind of stay active over the New Year's. I'm planning on putting out a video hopefully tomorrow about being able to manage your diet and losing weight at the start of the year, and relying on my nutritional background to basically have a conversation about ways that you can kind of eat and use your cycling to help you drop a bit of weight, especially being January. I think there's like a statistic, people over the age of 35, you basically, in the last 2 months of the year, you end up putting on weight and then only losing a proportion of that weight come the following year, and then ergo over 5-6 years, that's how you end up putting on quite a bit of weight. So we're gonna have a conversation, try and put a video on about kind of losing weight as a cyclist in a healthy sense. We're not talking about the elite end of the spectrum. We're talking about the guys that, hopefully people like myself who just like to kind of train really hard as well as they can, but it's not their profession, and they just have that conversation about how you eat and your energy systems. Anyway, I thought that'd be quite interesting. So diving into the race, it was obviously 3 laps. I thought the first 2 laps are not particularly interesting. A few guys take the bull by the horns. I don't know who was kind of really at the front of this. It's hard to see who's leading it. Like I said, these big kind of bunches of I think there's 90 people in this front group. It makes it, I don't know. It's like there's a lot of, I basically have a lot of trust in the group when it's this big and it's this flat. You basically just trust that if it strings out, it's going to come back together. I have done a race on this course where people have managed to ride off the front, but again, that was like a 30-man race, not a 200-person race. So with 200 people, and especially in a Z Racing monthly event, you kind of just trust that a lot of the riders are going to help close that gap and make sure that nothing, even when it gets strung out, that nothing's going to break. So there is an awful lot of trust that kind of goes into riding this event, especially this dead flat race. I will also say that myself and Eric are trying to queue up a few more races. Hopefully we're diving into one on Thursday, so stick around. We will try or I'll certainly try and share the particular event that we might be able to line up on Thursday. I've got it on good authority that Eric's working from home and he doesn't mind bunking off for an hour to come do a Zwift race, or certainly 26 minutes if he can go under 26 minutes. He said he's more than happy to bunk off over his lunch break. So hopefully Eric and I are going to dive into another competitive one. I have been keeping a very close eye on his sprint, and it is coming on slightly worryingly well, I think is the way I'll describe it. But it does kind of mean that it will be a tough one, and I think it'd be interesting to see, because I think Eric's like a little bit lighter than me. So on a flat course, me having maybe like a little bit more power, but also maybe not quite the level of fitness and endurance that Eric has. Like, how would we compare on a race like this? We hopefully will find out. So we're going to see about that. So I'll throw that into like somewhere, kind of Strava and on YouTube, as and when we manage to sort that. Racing wise, guys, my first lap, or the first lap for me on this route, the Fan Flats, was my slowest. Second was the second fastest, and then the third loop was the fastest. To put that into figures for you, it was 6 minutes 46 for the first lap, holding 280 watts. It was 6 minutes 41 for the second lap, holding 299 watts. And then it was 6 minutes 34, which is 12 seconds faster than the first lap, holding 298. So that's 1 watt less than my previous lap. So it goes, it would progressively get faster, basically, is the long and short of it. And I think it's just, the interesting thing is, and you guys will, if you rode this race, you will know, we're basically coming up to the point when, as soon as you hit the cobbles, someone is going to go, and you are basically going to have to hold that. You're going to have to try and make that move. Now, from my perspective and the way that I've been feeling, it has been a little bit hard, because ultimately my heart rate, I just can't seem to get it up. I can't seem to get my heart rate up into the 170s. Now, before Christmas, my last few races, I was noticing that I was able to get it into 171 and hold it for like a sustained period of time, and repeatedly kind of get it like high 160s up into the 170s. And then I did a few races where I was touching 173, 174, which was incredibly encouraging. So I think at the moment, just seeing that I can't really get it, I think I top out on a heart rate of 166 maybe for the race. So I just personally feel like I'm not able to put the effort in to get it that high, but I'm not going to stress about it. I knew that these aren't my types of races. I like something that has like a little punch and helps the group separate and just trying to hold on. I'm getting better at those. These flat races I am not quite so good at. Had to work really hard coming into this last lap and coming into the sprint. I knew, you just know that people are going to go super early, and you have to be a very strong rider to be able to kind of sit on those wheels and take it from there. That's not me. I don't have that yet, but we are going to work towards it. I'm looking forward to a big 2024 and just kind of continually working. I think if I look at where we are, the fact that this has been a 26-minute race holding 3.9 watts, this is a very good place to be starting with. So I am happy for that. But from this race, I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to hold it. I did try and give it a bit of an effort coming around the last corner, even though it was, I don't know, like a fool's errand, if you will. So last corner, all the guys have, it's a bit strung out. All the guys are doing it. I had to use my power up previously to stay on the group because I was struggling. But I do put a bit of a kick in, or I try and put a kick in. I don't know. I maybe touch 600 watts at some point, but that is about all I have to offer. And I struggle. Heart rate just touches 167, I think, maybe. And then that is it for me. I'm like completely cooked. I think I come in at 76, but you do see that I hold 3.9 watts for at least 20 minutes, and in fact the whole